Good morning everybody, welcome to our webinar. Thank you very much for attending and for waiting in the lobby for us. I'm joined today by Simon G, our Business Development Manager.
Hello everyone.
I'm Amy, I am our Digital Marketing Specialist, and we've also got Jess with us today, who is our apprentice who will be managing the webinar in the background for us. So
hello.
Thank you very much, Jess. So if we're going to get started, we're going to talk about time and attendance, which is basically, the best way to describe it is a clocking in system that is linked to a piece of software that helps manage your HR and to a certain extent your health and safety. So if we hand over to Simon's going to speak a little bit more about it and how it works, and then we're going to also have a demo today on that. So
yes, thanks Amy. Right, okay, first of all, so we call it time and attendance. I guess just a little bit of background. One of our larger clients approached us actually once we'd done a piece of software for them that was very successful, and they liked the look and feel of it. And they wanted to achieve a solution where they could clock in and clock out of the business, and also record information at the back end, and monitor things like holidays. But one of their key focuses was about the health and safety of the business in the event of things like a fire, and how to do a roll call, which is very seamless as much as anything. So in terms of the actual product, I guess there's a couple of elements to it. So first of all, you'll see the subject matter there, biometric system. So when we initially started this project, one thing that was very clear as a requirement was they didn't want their employees to be able to fake the process of signing in and signing out of the building. So what we've used is a biometric system. For those that aren't aware of that term, as I wasn't beforehand, is essentially it's face or finger recognition. So if we think about the first part of the process of signing into premises, there are a lot of people that use cards, that use stamping and things like that. Anybody can replicate that, and as they call it, buddy cards, if you like. So the biometric system, nobody can replicate, fortunately, probably my face or my fingers. So it's very secure from that point of view, and no one can cheat the system.
Perfect, Simon. So shall we move on and look at the webinar?
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is actually going to show you a video. We worked out the best way to demonstrate this, because I felt that it was very important today for you guys to see what the solution does. What we didn't want to do is actually record me going around to the building and actually signing in and signing out. So what we've done is a previous recording of this. So we're going to show you that shortly. Just touching on some of the other topics that we're going to talk about, again, reasons of why this solution we feel is important and why it got on our roadmap essentially. Health and safety, I've mentioned it already, but who is in the building? It's a horrible subject, but we may be evacuated for a fire alarm or whatever, and what we want to do is achieve a quick ability to see who is in and out of the building. So what we'll see as we go and see the solution is, as we log into the system, that sees a record that hits the back-end software, and then what we can have is then an app. So in the event, let's say, of a fire and we're out on the yard, literally just clicking on a button, we can see who is in the building and who is out of the building. So when who's in, make sure they're all out of the building essentially. Okay. We can also then record things like personnel details, so it might be things like next of kin, it may be mobile phone numbers, as well as other things that we're seeing there, things like holidays. So we also manage our holidays here, so how many holidays that person have, how many are used, and also an authorization process of that holiday as well. And then we can also integrate into payroll. So there are a few solutions that we can integrate into. So we'll also kind of talk about that as we go on. So to start with, let's just show you, it's actually me, dressed down, just logging into the building. So yeah, we'll play this video now.
So I'm hoping this will work, everyone, to be honest, because I've never played, and it's just let me know. Sorry, we can't play media in this presentation. So what we're going to do is Simon's going to show his screen anyway for the demo. So if Simon shares his screen, he'll be able to show you the video in the presentation. Of course, never work with technology, it never does what you want it to do, not that we're an IT company. So if we get Simon to share his desktop, just for a moment. I think one of the great things to say about this piece of technology is it's really a hub for your staff, isn't it, really? It has everything you kind of need for that general day-to-day management of what you're going to do. So as you can see, you can probably see Simon's screen. Can we see Simon's screen, Jess? I just wanted to double check
Yeah, we
that.
can, yeah.
Perfect. So we're just going to play this video. As you can see in PowerPoint, a little bit of a quick fix for that. So quickly play it. So as you can see, Simon goes to
so I'm looking at the screen there. It's reckoning my eyes. We've actually got this linked to a door entry system. So as part of our standard build, that isn't there, but it's very easy just to link it to a door entry, and that then allows me access into the building. I know it's very straightforward and very short. It's as simple as that, really.
There is sound to that as well, which we would have played, but Simon's muted, so his computer doesn't mess with our webinar. But it actually says thank you as you come into the building, so you know that you've definitely clocked in. So if we move on now, Simon, I believe you're going to show us a demo of the system, how it works, and the general features of that.
That's right. Okay, so hopefully what you can see is the back-end software. I have logged in just for speed purposes today. I am actually going to go into the system in two different ways today. So first of all, I'm logged in as an administrator. I'm also going to show you where a user may want to log into this, which is purely for recording holidays. Okay. What I don't want today to be is a full administration training course. So all I really want to get across is the fundamentals of what you've got in the system. So down that left-hand side, you'll see things like holidays and employees, which is the area that we're really going to focus on, as well as this main part of the screen called the dashboard. Okay. I will also point out that for the protection of our staff, this is demo data, so these are real people, and some of the information in there is real. Some of it is being stripped out, such as mobile phone numbers, etc. So we would typically have those in. So first of all, as soon as I've logged in here, we get to a dashboard, and that gives me a list of all of my active staff that actually log into the system. Across the top, we'll see there's three options. So at the moment it's on all, but if I click on this button in the building, that tells me straight away who is in the building at this point. So if you are in an organisation where your offices are relatively large, you may just need to see who is in the building right now before you get out the chair, start walking over to wherever and locate that individual. I can just have a look, should they be in first of all. Okay. I also have an out of the building as well, so I can see maybe when they were last out. So that just gives me that record. So let's go back to in the building. There's always more than one way to navigate around a screen. So be it there's not many people in the building at this particular time. Let's assume that this list was larger, there might be 100 people there, so scrolling up and down may not be sensible. And let's say I want to look for, I'll look for myself in this particular case, so I'm going to look for Simon G's record. So in the top left hand corner, as soon as I start typing, we've got a couple of Simons, and I'm just going to click on Simon G, and that's actually going to take me into the employee record. Okay, like I say, some of this is accurate information, some of it isn't because it's for demo purposes. Don't look at date of birth, it's not accurate. Okay, if you want to have things like nicknames, you can do. So you've got a known as, you can see my first name and last name, my email address. We link it to something called Active Directory. There are various different ways that we can have users set up. So that means something to some people. If you are a user from an IT perspective in your business, then we can link it to Active Directory. That doesn't have to be the way that it's set up. I will point that out. Okay. So I can see some basic information. So if I've got contact phone numbers, I can have things like next of kin on here. Towards the bottom, you've got things like pay ID. So in our specific case, we do not link ours to a payroll system. Probably half of our clients do and half of them don't. Okay, and that's where that comes into things. Okay, what we do is also departmentalize people. So it might be that you've got a head of department. They may do things like holiday authorization, or they may just want to track, let's say people are regularly late in our early leavers to the building. Okay, you can see what holiday entitlement I've got there. Again, because this is demo system, I'm not really 6.5 days over on my holidays, but it does tell me that. Okay. Again, I don't want to take too much time going into the different pieces, but there's a couple of tabs that I will point out here. So I can look at scans. Again, sorry to reiterate demo data, we took a snapshot of some scannings from mid last weekish. So you can see the last record that I've got here is I clocked into the premises at 2:50 on the 13th of September. You can see I've got clock in and clock out on the 12th, on the 11th, etc. So I can see exactly when I'm in the business.
Can I ask, Simon, where it says source and it says office, can I assume that if you've got, say, two sites, say we've got a Birmingham site and a Coventry site, you could have that so it would be different sites?
Excellent question, Amy. That's absolutely true. So yes, you may be multiple sites. It might even be that you have one site, but you want to separate those offices out. So yes, you can categorise those.
Great.
Okay. If I really wanted to, I could go and view a little bit more information, but essentially, that should show me the history of what's happened to that user. I've also got my absences. So in this particular case, the only thing that I've got on there is some holidays. So I've just put some data just so you can see it for today's purposes. So any holiday that we have, and I will show you how we record this. There's a request made from the employee, and then that's authorised by the appropriate member of staff, and that shows a record there. We can also record other absences such as sickness, etc. in there as well. We have that so it's administrator controlled, so a user can't record that. Okay. The other thing to point out is devices. I am just going to talk about this at this point. You may have some people in the building who want to have tablets, smartphones, so they can actually see who is in the building in that event of an evacuation of the premises. So that's where that device is. So I haven't got one recorded in this particular case. Okay. Down the left hand side, we've also got departments. So again, we can have as many departments as we want. We can record information in there such as rates as well. If you've got under 21s and you pay them a different rate, then we can record that. And I should point out, ACUTEC have written this software, and that does also give us a facility that if there's something I could do with an extra category there or an extra field, then that is something that is relatively straightforward to bespoke.
So, for example, if you say wanted to use it as more of a HR tool.
Yes.
Obviously, I'm not a HR expert, so I don't even know if you can do this legally. But say you wanted, say, an area for keeping, say, the employee's contract or all that kind of thing, you'd be able to add that on.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So you can see we've got an employee record. Well, actually, it's probably easier for me to go into, rather than going into anyone else's, let's go into mine. I could have a documents area, for example, and that would give them the ability to actually accelerate those HR functionalities. Okay. So just to kind of rewind what we've got here, remember we've got the biometric system, which makes it very, very straightforward for the employee to clock in and clock out of the building. The other thing I haven't mentioned, the benefit of the biometric system, you haven't got ongoing cost on people losing cards and whose responsibility of that is. Essentially, you have a scanner or scanners that scan your eye or finger.
It's a lot more hygienic as well, I guess, in terms of using.
Really good point. We have whether I'm going to kind of tick the hygienic box. That could be one. We have a client and they don't particularly work in a clean environment. So the fact that it can just have face, you can go up, look in the screen, and it recognises them. They don't even have to touch them, get their hands, etc. completely filthy. Okay. So yes, that's easy. Is to scan. That sends the transaction back to our backend software, as we saw on the scan, against that employee. So there's a photo that recognises it against the scanner. We can record absences. I'm going to show you how to put a holiday in there. We can see all of the scans, and it's a nice straightforward, as well as having this additional HR functionality. Okay. If I just click on holidays, so if the way that we would typically have this set up, so I have to actually put a holiday request in, and then my manager has to authorise that. So what they would see is when they go in there as an authoriser, they can just see their holiday list and whose holidays need reviewing as much as anything, at which point they can then authorise those. Okay. So what I'm going to do at this point, actually, it's not that. What I'm going to do at this point, sorry, is log out of the system. And I'm going to go now as a user, opposed to administrator. Now, first of all, the dashboard that you see is very similar, but the left-hand bar is different and it's very, very restricted. So I'm already in the dashboard, so I have one further button I can click on there. So it's nice and user intuitive. We always think that sometimes less is more from that point of view. Now then, you might be thinking, well, you can see all those people. Why should I be able to see these various people and get into their records? Well, I can't. It's restricted. So the reason we have this is it may be that I still need the access to say who is in the building, but I actually can't get to their personnel information. Obviously, that is private information in many cases. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click on apply at this point. That'll show you again what holidays I've actually already got booked and which ones have been approved. I'm actually going to record. So you can see there's a drop-down list. I am only allowed to record holidays, but you can have as many categories as that you want in there. And again, that's down to the way that we've got it configured as much as anything. I then can state when do I want that holiday. So whether it's this year, next year, what month it is. I think I'm going to go for one in December. I could do the 1st of December off, do some Christmas shopping. You can even restrict it down to hourly. So you may have some people who want to take a 3-hour holiday or a 2-hour holiday.
I think the minute function's great. I used to work for a company where because I was part-time staff, Saturday staff, I had literally to the minute how much holiday I had. So that's a great way of recording it so it doesn't contradict anything within the company itself.
Okay, so that's brilliant. Right, so I'm going to go for the 1st. I'm actually only going to have 1 day off for me.
You've already took more than you're supposed to have, so...
Fair point. Okay, so I'm going to go with a 9 till 5, and I'm just going to click on save. We can see that holiday come up in this list. We can see it's unauthorised. So I'm just going to close that. I know now I've not got a piece of paper on my boss's desk, which is going to blow away into the bin, and I can get my holiday approved.
Will your manager now receive a notification that you've asked for that holiday?
Yes, good question. I'm going to open my emails, and I hope I've configured this the correct way on the demo. Apologies. What we're going to see, demo is always a great thing. Obviously, I'm working as an administrator as well as a user. So what I've done is put a request in. That would send an email back to myself to say that there is a holiday request being placed and it is unauthorised at this particular point. So what I'm now going to do is log back in as an administrator. And the first thing I'm going to do is just click on attendance view. Sorry, I'm not. I'm going to click on holidays. Again, we already saw there was one there earlier, but here we can see the new one. So it's a holiday. It's for Simon G, the department that he's in, the start date and the end date, and the requested date. So all I'm going to do is click on this. And we can see that's now gone out of my list, and again an email will be sent. I'm just going to wait for it to pop in the bottom right hand corner here. And silence is great when you're doing a demonstration like this. There we go. It's coming before my reminder. again, that message, we've kept it simple. We could have much more. So yes, you would have on your request one. We've also got there when you were approved. The one thing that we didn't see there is the person who approves them also gets an email. So as well as that dashboard that they can see, they'll also get an email request as well. Okay. I am also going to click on the attendance view here as well. I'll make sure I'm on an accurate week here because we took a snapshot of this data. So we haven't got any data in this week for demo purposes. So what are we on? Yeah. So if I just hone in on that first record, Amy, who is here. So what we can see is actually that she clocked in at 7:45. She then clocked out at 12:15. She'd had 15 minutes out of the office, so she's then clocked back in for 15 minutes, and then left the premises, clocked back in at 1 o'clock. So in this particular case, it's quite a good scenario where we see real behaviour, because I believe, Amy, you were loading a car. And...
Yes, so last week we did an event at the RSC on the cloud, and I was basically loading my car up with everything that we needed for the event. So that was me clocking in and out of the building to put everything into the car.
Excellent. She wasn't in on Tuesday. She didn't have the day off. We were at an event, and then also she was actually out in the morning, and then she came in at 2:45. We snapshotted this data before Amy left on the Wednesday, so therefore you can see the colour differentiation that transaction isn't complete. So let's say she left the building at 5:30, and this was at 3:30 or something like that. And across the end here, this is just telling her week, the weekly total of hours.
Yeah.
So again, that can relate into the payroll element. And essentially, that's a very simplistic demonstration to time and attendance.
Yeah.
We talked about what happens in the event of evacuation. I don't like to say there's a fire in the building. I've just said it. Everyone's run out. The easiest thing, and what people will do, is still take their phones. So an app I think is relevant. We've actually done this on a tablet screen, but what the idea here is, we've got an app that you can click on, and that will tell you straight away who is in the building. So essentially this is our register that we can still use. Do we need to go back in the building and kind of go fetch anyone, essentially? Okay. Because all of payroll systems are slightly different in functionality, I didn't think it appropriate to demonstrate actually showing transactions going into payroll, but we've integrated this with Sage systems, Opera systems, Pegasus systems, Capital Gold, and something called Ernie. I've got to say, that's a new one on me as well.
It was a new one for me when I was told that was what it was as well.
And hopefully that just gives you an insight into our time and attendance solution. We've focused it on biometric, health and safety, the benefit of the HR, a holiday booking system, or an absentee booking system really, and the integration into payroll.
Thank you so much, Simon. So as you can see, it's a system with a lot of different features that can be used in multiple of different ways. As you can see on the slide, we have a guide to time and attendance, which is available at the link there. We're here to answer questions if we can. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to mute us for a few moments. You can talk to us in the chat box at the bottom of the screen. So if I just quickly type here, and we'll just go, we're here. Hang on. So please talk to us. We'll mute for a few moments while you get your questions ready. And apart from that, if you would like to know more about our time and attendance system, have maybe get your hands on it, have a bit more of a demo and a play yourself, then please do call 01675 469 020. Okay, brilliant. We've just had 2 questions come in. So the first question we've had is, Simon, can you have more than one clock in out reader on the system if you have more than one entrance or exit? So I'm guessing what that person means is if you exit via the front door and you exit via the back.
Yeah, absolutely no problem. We've got a number of sites actually with at least 2 clocking machines, so there's absolutely no issue regarding that. And it's easy to track which one they're actually clocked in and which one they're clocked out on, or whatever that case may be. So certainly no problem there.
Perfect. The other question that we've had is the software only compatible with certain devices? So I'm assuming from that you mean iOS, Android, that kind of thing.
I'll answer that in 2 ways. I'll answer the easy one first of all. So if I think about from an app perspective, actually I'm going to answer this in 3 ways, sorry. If from an app perspective, then it's multi-device orientated, so it will certainly work on an Android and iOS. I'd need to confirm on a Microsoft device, which might sound odd, being a Microsoft house ourselves, but that's certainly from an app perspective. In terms of the software itself, it is browser based, so that shouldn't give you any restriction in terms of the back-end software. This can either reside on the server on-premise, or it can actually be hosted, so we can host that for you as well using the Microsoft Data Center. From an actual scanning device, that's probably a little bit more controlled. So what we have actually got is we've got recommended scanning solutions, and the reason purely for that is I know there can be conflict with certain devices and having the software on there. If you had existing devices, we would need to check whether our software will run it. That's probably the easiest way. If you haven't got anything in place, we would rather you go by our recommendation.
Right, perfect. Thank you, Simon. I'm just going to mute again just to see if there's any more questions. Please do let us know if you have any. Thank you. Okay, we've got some more questions coming in. So, the next question we've had is, what about GDPR and data protection for biometrics?
Okay. I guess the easiest way to answer this is this is no different to holding a personnel file. So remember, only certain people in the business will have access to administration level details. So within ACUTEC, for example, there's only a couple of people who have administration rights. And they are the people that hold your personnel files typically. So that's probably the easy way, and also payroll information. So I guess that's a restriction. It's not public information by any means.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. The next question we have had is, what might an employer have to consider that they don't already when it comes to saving biometric data?
I think the biometric data is it's either your eye scan or your finger scan. Which are held in that scanning device essentially, and then subsequently the application is the back-end application is picking up that data. I don't know if there's any more detail on that question. I'm struggling with what information we're trying to achieve. I
suppose the person who's then asked another question is, could an employee refuse to issue their biometrics? And I guess within that, that's more of a company decision. That's not really.
Absolutely. I'm not a legal person, so I'm going to kind of hold back an answer in that. I know that part of myself starting with ACUTEC, there was certain information that I had to give to be able to be employed. That pretty much is standard across the board. Do people refuse that information? I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Brilliant, Simon. I'm just going to pause it just 1 second. We're going to mute, see if there's any more questions. Please do fire away. Right, I've just been emailed a question because I know we've had a few people phone in. Someone's just asked me about how sort of setting it up works. So what's the process of, say you get a new employee, how do you get them to be signed up to be able to access the building? So Simon, do you want to explain a little bit about that, as we have both gone through that ourselves?
In the back end, there's a couple of different ways that it can be done, but essentially that employee has to be created on the back end with relatively minimal information as standard. And then literally it's done at the device. So there's literally a picture taking that links, that when you get your picture taken, it saves that. So then when you next come in your building, it recognises your face. One thing I will add to that, there are some people, like myself included, you'll see that I wear glasses. I don't always wear glasses. So if I have my picture taken with my glasses on, it will recognise me with glasses or without. I know that might sound a trivial matter, but to me it's not. Because sometimes I've got my hands full, I want to sign it, I don't have to worry about taking my glasses off.
Perfect. Right then. Apart from that, it doesn't seem to have any more questions, so I'm going to end the webinar there, but please do feel free to get in touch. You can also email me at amy@acutec.co.uk if you prefer to email rather than give us a call. But please do get in touch if you would like to know more, just find out some answer some questions that you might think of afterwards. So thank you very much for attending, and I hope to speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you much, everyone.
Thank you.